It's just gone on too long. Nobody cares anymore. I don't want to live in your paranoid world anymore, your masked paranoid world. You know, you go out, it's silly now. You know, you have to have your mask, you have to have a card, you have to have a booster.
This is what we're doing to protect our families. And you don't have to do it, but stay away from everybody. Because if you're the one who's not paying attention and you're coughing and sneezing, you don't want to, then stay out of the public, man. This is not, nobody wants.
Bill Maher is back, cutting through politically correct talk with ease. This time, he's taking on Whoopi Goldberg for her controversial comments. Since 2022, she has made statements that set the stage for this debate. Maher didn't just throw insults, he carefully broke down her arguments, leaving her struggling to respond. But what did she say that sparked his sharp reaction, and how did his reply shake up her supporters? Stick around for all the details.
Past this endless, unforgiving, zero-tolerance mindset bent on punishing and disappearing anyone caught saying the wrong thing. The right response to speech you don't like is more speech.
Whoopi Goldberg has sparked a controversy and is now facing the consequences. And trust me, it's something you don't want to miss. Remember when Bill Maher called out Sunny Hostin for twisting his words? Well, things at The View have changed, and staying quiet isn't an option anymore. Whoopi has jumped right into the debate, seemingly trying to fight back. When Sunny struggled under pressure, she brought in backup, Whoopi herself. And she didn't hold back, firing off strong words like a reality TV star determined to win the argument.
Black people can't afford to indulge rich white people's need to endlessly flagellate themselves. They just want prices to go down and good jobs and the police when you call them.
Well, if he's right, then why didn't people vote for the former prosecutor who actually had policy plans to help the working class?
Whoopi Goldberg is at it again, treating the so-called woke playbook like it's her guide to debate. When her argument starts to fall apart, she builds a weak counterpoint and charges ahead. But Bill Maher made it clear, Black Americans want real job opportunities, a strong economy, and fair policing, plain and simple. Instead of addressing that, Whoopi veers off topic, talking about backing a former prosecutor with big plans for workers. Does her point make sense? Not really. It's like she's throwing darts blindly, hoping something sticks, but nothing does. And, of course, Bill Maher wasn't about to let that slide.
Rid of the police. Just, no, it's not that I've gotten old, it's that your ideas are stupid.
Bill Maher didn't hold back, calling Whoopi's ideas complete nonsense, something rarely seen on The View. Let's be honest, the show has turned into a chaotic political spectacle that's both messy and impossible to look away from. Known for its bold and often shocking opinions, The View keeps pushing boundaries. But somehow, Whoopi Goldberg and Sunny Hostin took things even further with their unpredictable commentary. And who could forget when Charlamagne Tha God joined in? He looked like he was questioning whether he had stepped into an entirely different reality.
I think all of the criticism is valid because, Democrats stand on this moral high ground all the time and, they act so self-righteous. The reality is he didn't have to say anything in regards to, whether or not, his son wanted to be pardoned. He could have said, hey, man, I'm not focused on that.
President Joe Biden, who calls himself a defender of the law, just pardoned his son Hunter after he was found guilty of corruption and other offenses. Talk about a questionable take on family loyalty, right? It's no surprise this move sparked outrage. How can you stand for accountability while letting your own son off the hook? It sends the message that justice applies to everyone except the Bidens. Hunter's wrongdoing was as obvious as a toddler with chocolate all over their face, yet accountability didn't seem to be a priority for the family. That's exactly what Charlamagne Tha God was pointing out. If the so-called woke crowd insists that no one is above the law, then they should practice what they preach. Sounds simple, right? Well, not according to Whoopi.
I'm gonna stop you for a second.
Uh-oh.
Only because you don't know that it was a lie. We don't know why he changed
You really think he just changed his mind over Thanksgiving weekend all of a sudden?
No, I'm gonna tell you what I think.
Okay. Yeah.
I think he changed his mind because he got sick of watching everybody else get over.
Get ready for another cringeworthy moment, courtesy of Whoopi Goldberg, the queen of controversial takes. This time, She's insisting that President Biden was absolutely right when he said, "No one is above the law." Really, Whoopi? There's a mountain of evidence, videos, recordings, and maybe even ancient carvings that prove he said exactly that.
This nation was founded on the principle that there are no kings in America. Each of us is equal before the law. No one is above the law. Not even the President of the United States.
Watching Whoopi twist an obvious falsehood is like hearing someone argue that the sky isn't blue on a clear day. Her mental gymnastics might be Olympic-worthy if only she didn't trip over her own logic. Even Charlemagne Tha God couldn't hide his shock at her bizarre claims. But Whoopi didn't stop there. She went on to suggest that Biden changed his stance simply because he was tired of people taking advantage of him. Charlemagne, completely stunned, could only respond with silence.
So I'm just going to follow the straight and narrow always, because that's what's expected of Democrats.
But that's their fault. They're the ones that go out there and they stand on this moral high ground. They don't have to do.
The irony of the so-called woke agenda is that they're quick to call out mistakes unless the person at fault is one of their own. When an outsider slips up, the outrage is immediate, but when it's someone from their inner circle, the criticism suddenly turns into quiet excuses or selective amnesia. Whoopi and her crew may have gotten away with it when Charlemagne was on the show, but once Bill Maher caught wind of their antics, he didn't hold back. With drink in hand, he delivered one of the most brutal takedowns in recent memory.
You love to speak truth to power, and we always should, but you have completely lost the ability to speak truth to bullshit.
Maher's critique was razor-sharp. The so-called woke crowd loves to present itself as the voice of truth and justice, yet their double standards couldn't be more obvious. Take Hunter Biden, his guilt was clear as day, but thanks to his father's position in the Oval Office, he avoided real consequences. If it were anyone else, the outrage would be deafening, with demands for punishment. But when it's one of their own, favoritism always wins over fairness. This is hypocrisy at its finest, and Maher didn't hesitate to call it out. The real question is, how much longer will Americans put up with this double standard? It's not just about Hunter, it's about a system that protects the powerful while punishing everyone else. Maher's takedown wasn't just sharp, it was a wake-up call for anyone still believing in the myth of impartial justice. And here's the kicker, he pointed out that mainstream media often plays along, making these double standards even worse.
Was it appropriate to bury the Hunter Biden?
You're talking about the press doing that?
He's saying that's what they did, and that is what they did. They buried the Hunter Biden story before the election because they were like, we can't risk having the election thrown to Trump. We'll tell them after the election.
And we know for a fact that that's what they did?
Of course. You don't follow this.
Saying you know for a fact that that's what they did. I don't know what they did.
I know, because you only watch MSNBC.
No, that's not true.
The media went all out to downplay the Hunter Biden scandal, working overtime to protect President Biden while undermining Trump's re-election efforts. Major news outlets dismissed the allegations as mere Russian propaganda, conveniently ignoring the growing pile of evidence and silencing anyone who dared to question the narrative. Meanwhile, Whoopi Goldberg eagerly joined in on the view, brushing off the claims without hesitation. But Bill Maher wasn't having any of it. He confronted her head-on, accusing her of deflecting from the real issues instead of addressing the truth. One by one, he dismantled her excuses, exposing the blatant hypocrisy for all to see.
Above any matters of politics or what's right or wrong, the one thing I know for sure about America is this. It's run by mean girls. Mean girls in the press and in politics and in life. And when they smell blood in the water, the lust to finish off a vulnerable person will never be denied.
Bill Maher hit the nail on the head. The women of The View, especially Whoopi Goldberg, aren't just progressive, they're like a relentless pack, ready to attack anyone who dares to challenge their rigid ideology. Their debates aren't about open discussion or finding the truth, they're about shutting down opposing views with mockery and sharp remarks. Whoopi, in particular, has perfected the art of dismissing different opinions with a simple wave of her hand, as if they aren't even worth considering. But Maher wasn't afraid to call out these tactics, exposing them as nothing more than bullying disguised as activism. It's no wonder he's become a thorn in their side, constantly highlighting their double standards for an audience that's tired of echo chambers. His takedowns are like a breath of fresh air in a space filled with stale, one-sided arguments.
Democrats run for office as if the voters don't live here, as if they don't go to the grocery store and Starbucks and the office, but they do. They live here, and they actually see women and people of color, and it doesn't look like some patriarchal racist nightmare. Do problems remain pertaining to racism? And of course.
Bill Maher is delivering nothing but hard truths, and is just getting started. What comes next will leave you absolutely stunned, so buckle up.
The poll last year asked, if America is the greatest country in the world, more blacks and Hispanic Americans agreed with that than the white progressives. It asked if racism is built into our society. White progressives agreed with that at higher levels than black and Hispanic.
Once again, Bill Maher delivers a knockout rebuttal, a perfect counter to the usual narrative. Yet, figures like Whoopi Goldberg seem determined to push back against his message, but before we jump into the next explosive segment, let's quickly recap the key points Maher just laid out.
It asked if government should increase border security. Same result. Hispanic Americans are less okay with illegal immigration than whitey. The votes are in. They don't want your pity. And black people can't afford to indulge rich white people's need to endlessly flagellate themselves. They just want prices to go down and good jobs and the police when you call them. Black people, they're just like us.
Bill Maher is making it clear, the progressive crowd needs to stop complaining about Trump's victory and face reality. He didn't steal it, rig it, or magically create it. He won fair and square because millions of Americans connected with his message, even if that left the progressive left in shock. Instead of making excuses, blaming Russia, racism, or the latest Twitter controversy, maybe it's time to accept that in a democracy, sometimes the other side wins. This isn't a system failure, it's democracy functioning as it should. The sooner they drop the victim mentality and start strategizing, the better their chances will be in 2028 or even 2032.
There's a coalition of Trump voters, people who really like him. They certainly are those. And then there's people who don't necessarily like him that much, but they still think he's less crazy than stuff that strikes them as aggressively anti-common.
Bill Maher hits the mark again. Not every Trump voter is out there waving MAGA flags or pledging loyalty to flashy slogans. Many voted for him simply because they were tired of the Democrats' self-righteous lectures and the extreme policies pushed by the woke crowd. Let's be honest, when you support policies like allowing biological men to compete in women's sports or align with rallies that seem sympathetic to controversial groups, you're going to alienate a big portion of voters. People didn't choose Trump because they loved his unfiltered tweets or his signature tan. They picked him because the alternative felt like being lectured by a self-righteous vegan at a backyard barbecue. If the left really wants to win, maybe they should stop pushing fringe ideas and start focusing on what actually matters to the average American.
Stop saying that Whoopi Goldberg getting yanked from The View right after she attacked me on The View is karma. There's no such thing as karma. Sorry. Sorry, but life is random. The only word to describe it when a big game hunter gets trampled by an elephant and then eaten by lions is hilarious.
Comedy at its finest. Bill Maher didn't just take a final shot at Whoopi Goldberg's tired rhetoric, he practically wrote its eulogy, all while laughing at the absurdity. Whoopi, who seems to see herself as the oracle of the Roe Brigade, made the mistake of attacking Maher simply for thinking for himself. Big mistake. Maher's comeback was classic razor-sharp, brutally honest, and downright hilarious. He pointed out the irony of a co-host on a show that claims to value diverse opinions criticizing him just because his views didn't align with hers. The contradiction was glaring. A group that preaches tolerance but only tolerates ideas that fit their narrative. As always, Maher wasn't having it. He tore apart the woke echo chamber that Whoopi and her crew thrive in, a space where critical thinking is replaced with blind allegiance and dissent is treated like a crime. Watching him dismantle their weak arguments was like seeing a modern-day Picasso at work, using biting sarcasm and sharp logic as his brushstrokes. Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Catch you in the next one.